All right, we're going to start today's video with what we finished out yesterday's video on drawing views of a solid. So as you can see in the picture, it's like one of those standard old school erasers. And if you look at it from the front view, what you'd actually see is a parallelogram. And then if you look at it from the side view, you'd see a rectangular. So it's kind of like looking at it from this view. And then if you looked at it from the top, you'd see a rectangle. And so the idea is just to understand the components of the figure. So I've got a different example right here, and this was what I was explaining before I got cut off yesterday. So we're given the top, front, and side views, and the goal is to figure out what figure is it that it's showing. So you can see in the top view, it shows that our base is a square or a rectangle, and that the faces come together at a point. You can see that they're triangular faces right there from just that view alone. If I look at it at the front, I see a triangle. If I look at it from the side, I see a triangle. We know that when you have lateral faces that are triangular, it's got to be a pyramid. So this is definitely a pyramid. And then we want to look at the base to know what type of pyramid. In this case, since there's no measures, I would call it a rectangular pyramid because I don't know for sure it's a square. It looks rectangular to me. So that would be a rectangular pyramid. So one of our goals will be to take an image and see if we can draw the top, front, and side views. So if I look at this cube, if I look at it from the top, I would see a square. If I look at it from the front, I would see a square. And if I looked at it from the side, I would see a square. Whereas with the cylinder, from the top, I'd see a circle. But if you think about it, a cylinder, if you look at it from the side, all you see is a rectangle. And if you look at it from the front, all you see is a rectangle. Now this prism is a little bit different. This is a triangular prism. So if I look at it from the top, I would see a triangle. But since from all the sides, I would see lateral faces. But so if I would look at it from this perspective alone, I'd see a large rectangle. But if I was to look at it from the let's say from the back, maybe I would see that square. Or maybe if I looked at it like right at the point, like this was like a piece of cheese, I'd actually see like the point would show me two sides. So there's a couple of different ways you could look at that image. I kind of like this. It reminds me like of a dog bowl that won't tip. If I look at it from the top, I'd see basically two circles. But if I look at it from the front or the side, I see like a trapezoid shape. All right, so you guys can see that front, top, and side view and how you can do that. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at a couple pictures and see if we can identify the figure from the top, side, and front views. So when you look at this picture, you can see it's got a circular top. That right away lets me know it can't be a pyramid or a prism because we know that they're polygons only. So this is either a cylinder or a cone. The little dot in the middle kind of gives me an indicator, but the front and side views being triangular definitely shows me that this is a cone. When I look at number 7 here, the top view clearly shows me that this base is either a rectangle or a square, but because of that crisscross, I can see that those lateral faces are triangular. I know it's a pyramid, and then that's confirmed when I see the front and side views. So this would be a pyramid, and because the base is rectangular, this would be a rectangular pyramid. And this is my favorite because you can see the front and side views all show me rectangular lateral faces, but if you look at it from this front view, you can see part of those faces. But if you look at it from the side, like from this way, you can only see two faces. So that's interesting. But again, we know it's a prism because it has lateral faces that are rectangular, but its base is a hexagon. So this would be a hexagonal prism. Now for these last three, we're going to take it a step further. Not only are we going to identify the figure, but we're going to draw the figure. So you can see that this is clearly a pyramid because the front and side views are both triangles. And that pyramid has a triangular shape. So this is a triangular pyramid. If you remember from yesterday, to draw a pyramid, you would first draw its base, and then you draw a point up in the air, and then you connect that point to each of those bases. This figure right here, it's clearly a prism because the front and side views are both rectangular. And I'm going to notice that the top view is a triangle. So again, I'm going to make my triangle. But because this is a prism, I need two congruent triangles. And it's as congruent as I'm going to get freehand. And I'm going to connect all those vertices to make that triangular prism. And then last, I've got another prism because the front and side views are both rectangular lateral faces. The top view is a rectangle. So I'm going to draw two congruent rectangles. And I'm going to connect all their corresponding vertices to make that figure. Now, I did these examples, and I'm going to do 4 more real quick as well, because for today's Google assignment, you're not going to be doing a Google form, you're going to be doing a Google drawing. Now, what I've done is I've set up the Google drawing with some directions, and I've done the first example for you. It'll be your job to use the tools in the Google drawing to actually draw some pictures to show that you can do it too. If you have questions trying to draw these during the assignment today, I'm going to encourage you to have your parents email me, or you can email me, and I'll get right back to you and explaining how to use the tools if you can't figure it out yourself. Although I do think the tools mirror a lot of other software that you may have used in the past, and I do think you'll be able to figure out how to draw those straight lines using the line tool rather than freehand drawing. I'll accept freehand drawing too if you prefer, but the line tool definitely makes it easier to make those lines nice and straight. So let's take a look. You will be asked to do these 4 figures, I'm sorry, on your Google drawing today. So what I'm going to do is do this figure for you right now. If I needed to draw a triangular prism, because the prism, I need 2 congruent triangular bases. All right, so I'm going to draw one. Now I'm going to draw my other, and I'm going to try to make those as close as possible to the same. And then I'm going to connect their corresponding vertices. Okay, and just like I'm going to explain in the directions on the drawing, you don't need to worry about making the headed lines, dotted lines. If you're adept at the drawing file and you do want to try that, go for it. That'll be awesome, but not required. For rectangular prism, just like before, you're going to make 2 equivalent or congruent rectangles for your bases. And I always recommend you kind of make them on an angle from each other to make it easy to connect those lines. And there you go. For my triangular, I did that whole picture without you seeing it. There we go. Let me trace back over that for you. So I started with the 2 rectangles, and then I connected them. Sorry about that. I didn't realize that the screen didn't show when I enlarged. All right, so now let's go to the triangular pyramid. So we're going to start right here with a triangle. And I'll put my point up here, and then you're just going to connect that to that vertex, to that vertex, and to that vertex. And then the rectangular pyramid, I'm going to make it nice and wide. And I'm going to go ahead and connect it to that vertex, to that vertex, to that vertex, and to that vertex. And so now I've created all 4. I did it again. I promised myself I wouldn't do that again. All right, and so let me trace that a second time. Sorry about that. We're going to go ahead and make our initial rectangle, and then we're going to make the point at the top to connect to each vertex. That's hilarious that I did that twice. Okay, you can see that when I drew that my lines weren't super straight, but as you know, that the Google drawing will help you with that by making the lines super straight. And but it doesn't bother me. If your neatness is not there, but you're following the process, that's enough for me. So good luck with that today, and thanks for sticking around to the end.